Well, I don't just like giving people depressing news, but there's some depressing news. I will keep it mildly depressing because beyond the Linkin Park announcement, which I should be cheering, yeah, some bad stuff out there, but I will keep it moderately depressing. So let me get the shilling out of the way. Please support the other channels. Please consider supporting this channel via channel memberships. So the big news, which should be great, is that Linkin Park is returning. So Linkin Park took a big hiatus, to use the Latins, because there was a tragedy with one of their main members. It's a very, very sad story with him. I don't want to get too into it, besides the YouTube penalizes if you get into that subject, but it's a very sad story. But they're back, should be celebrating, but turns out one of the vocalists they've hired, Emily Armstrong, yeah, she's a Scientologist. And for people who think, all you do is hate Aaron, all you do is hate Aerosmith Levitt, oh my god, he's a god, Listen. I will be the one to admit that Aaron is the one I got this news from. So he didn't break the story. The story had just come out, but he did break the Scientology aspect. I think that's like, oh, okay. And not that I don't trust Aaron, but I did some double checking. She's definitely a Scientologist of some kind, but like Scientologists like her, usually we can find their courses, but it's kind of hard to track down how much Scientology she did. But she definitely did some Scientology. And this is a part even Aaron I don't think touched upon because his video was a little rambling. It was not a bad video. I watched most of it, so maybe got to this at the very end. So wait for it. At least at one event. Yes. And again, she's listed. Maybe she didn't go there, but let's be fair. But apparently she went to an event. Wait for it. With Danny Masterson. Oh, it gets even better. Laura Prepon was there too. They're like, okay, now there are no photos. I'll keep digging if there was a photo of her and Danny and Laura. Wow. Wow. So she is very hardcore Scientology. So how to react to this? Well, okay, well, let's just do the Linkin Park thing first. And this is where it's going to get very amusing because I'm actually working on a few videos with Tori. And Tori's a very old school anti-Scientologist protester. Yeah, this is for my generation. I've noticed this weird thing with a lot of the SBTV people. There's no nice way of putting it, and let me be very broad and inclusive. And it's not really condemning. I'm just noticing this thing with a lot of these people. Miriam Francis, Mike Rinder, Aaron, even Claire Headley to some extent, although I do think she's more active in reading, is Natalie. Just go through the Surge especially. Surge is just a complete mess. Is how enclosed and cut off they are. They are, quote, normal people. They read newspapers. They have access to books. They go to bookstore. They don't seem to really know a lot about the world around them. And Linkin Park is a massive band. They are incredibly popular. But I'm sure if you ask Tori, what do you think about Linkin Park? She'd be like, I've never been there. So this is for my generation, and I will not overstate what I do know. I know their stuff pretty well, but I know mainly their big hits. And I was just listening to one of them again. And I'm like, wow, that is a great song. But I did not remember how political it was. There was a lot, and I do mean a lot of political images in that video. I'm like, whoa, I did not remember that. So to preempt, and I'll probably do another full video on this because, listen, I'm very mixed on the woke. Some woke things are good. Some woke things be bad. I think the woke now tends to be more stupid than anything, but we can't deny there's a lot of woke culture out there. And if you look at my videos, I'm not going to take them down. I do criticize the woke, whether it's like whatever the woke is. Something is quote unquote too gay. They're putting in for no reason. Well, quote, non-white characters, non-white actors, yada, yada, yada. It's like, oh, we got to be sensitive to the trans. For the most part, I find that stuff pretty stupid and intolerable. However, there are places it's appropriate. It makes sense. It's canonical. It works with the fictional story, whether music, a movie, a novel, a story, that's in the fiction. So if you're going to be on this channel, you want to complain about woke and whatever, the gay or the diversity, I have no issue with that as long as you know what you're talking about. However, if you say really stupid things like, oh my God, I'm watching like the final season of Game of Thrones and it went woke. It got like so feministy. Why are all these women having the power? And it's like, listen, I've read the book. And granted, the final season of Game of Thrones is one of the worst things I've ever seen. It's just catastrophically stupid. And yes, they did do a lot of stupid pro-feminist stuff that made no sense. But in terms of, quote, pro-feminism, that's in the books. In fact, the books are even more extreme. Like, if you're going to tell me that something that is literally super woke in its originality, its original incarnation, say, oh my God, it went woke, I can't take you too seriously. I'll say that much. So, getting back to Linkin Park has always been woke. I mean, for God's sake, they did an album with Jay-Z. Jay-Z does woke material, not all the time, but he does songs where it's very political, it's very socially conscious. You could say it's very cynical. Oh, these rich Hollywood celebrities. No, these guys are the truth. They walk the walk. They don't just like, let us help the homeless and the poor and the oppressed. Linkin Park does a lot of activism. They do a lot of stuff in real time. They do mix it up with their business, and I have no issue with that. So it's not as radical as Rage Against the Machine or Public Enemy. That's true. They're more consistent. And I know the Public Enemy stuff and the Rage stuff way more. Like, I can quote all those songs by heart. Again, I don't necessarily agree with them, but I do think they stand up for generally good causes, whether Native American rights, quote, some parts of Black Power. Some parts of Black Power I think are pretty bad, like Farrakhan and the Scientology stuff, and so on and so forth. So they stand up for some good causes, the Zapatistas, right, Peltier, so on and so forth, and they stand up for some stupid stuff, like, I'm not going to get into the stupid stuff with Rage, but I'm not joking, they endorse some really dumb communist terrorist. No, they did that. Yeah, they literally did that. In terms of Linkin Park being ruined by this, because here's another, yeah, wait for it. Emily's a Scientologist, and yes, she's gay. Now, I don't care, but she's openly gay. And if you know Scientology, it's like, wait, I thought they're not pro-gay. Well, and this is, I think, where Aaron is lying to people, but we're not going to concentrate on Aaron Smith-Levin being a propagandist. I've done other videos on that. If you want to see Aaron's various foibles, especially with women and the gay women, oh, that's a whole other playlist. But just Google that. Plenty of silly, fun stuff with him there. Any case, yes, Scientology overall is fairly hostile to homosexuality. So is this a shift? In other words, is David Miscavige becoming friendly to the gay? No. There's not many solid things you can say about Scientology. It's a very murky thing. But one definite fact is David Miscavige is very homophobic. And I don't mean like, oh, I'm tired of the gay Joker. I'm tired of the gay woman on my television. I'm tired of the gay in my trend. No, he's not talking like, oh, it's a little annoying having 20 gay characters in a thing. No, he is hardcore homophobic. He's like hardcore homophobic. He's like obsessively homophobic. And we know this from direct testimony from Rachel, who was a camera woman who worked with Miscavige directly. So he's on a whole other level. He's not just like, oh, I'm just getting a little tired of how this or that is. No, he's not that kind of, quote, anti-homosexual. He is virulently anti-homosexual. If Miscavige is hardcore homophobic, what is going on here? Is this just cynicism? Are they letting the celebrity Scientologists have a different set of rules? I'll be honest, I don't know. It does seem certain celebrities do get special privileges, right? Again, I don't know this for a fact. There's been a rumor for a long time John Travolta is gay. So it seems like they've had this issue for a while, that it does seem to have a two-tiered system. Like the really rich, powerful Scientologists, they have their own set of rules. They do whatever they please. But again, in the doctrine, it is homophobic. And we know this because Laura Prepon just gave it away because she was really into Hubbard. So she was reading a lot of this stuff. And in one quote, she acknowledged reading Hubbard, and the thing she was reading with Hubbard is very homophobic. We're dealing with a little bit of a hall of mirrors and a lot of unknown unknowns. It could be that, quote, Scientology is getting better. It could be there's no change in policy. Or it could be a little bit of everything. They're just being cynical. They're like, okay, yeah, Emily can be gay. Catherine Bell can be gay. We love the gay. We love the gay. What are you talking about? We always love the gay. So is it that we're out of date? When Mango was in Scientology, he's very clear. It was very anti-gay. He's a gay Scientologist who spoke out in the 2000s. Or is it just different systems, different locations? They all have their own individual policies. I honestly don't know. It seems to be a little bit all over the place. Now, I don't believe that Laura Prepon didn't know. That's just silly. So it seems like she was indoctrinated with this, quote, anti-homosexual ideology, but in real life and in Hollywood, she does play the gay. it seems to be a little bit all over the place. There's kind of partial cynicism, partial pragmatism, and of course, it depends where you are. Are you on staff in Scientology? Are you in the Sea Org? It seems with the Sea Org and on staff, it's very clearly against homosexuality. Like, that seems very consistent. But with the celebrities, it's a little bit all over the place. So it could be a little bit of a mix. This is very twisted news on many levels. And as a Linkin Park fan, it's very depressing because I love the guys. They've done mostly good stuff. I think they're the real deal. They're fighting the good fight on many fronts, environmentalism, including feminism and other things. And I don't agree with every cause. I want to be clear. I don't agree with every woke thing they're doing. But generally speaking, I think they're good guys. If they are too extreme on some of these things, like whatever eco social justice thing, I have no problem being critical. I'm critical of Rage Against the Machine. They do some stupid stuff. They mostly do good stuff. Public Enemy is the same thing. Like, Chuck D has this insane relationship with Farrakhan. We can do both. We can admire the good things, quote, our heroes or people we admire do, but also criticize the very stupid bad things they do. And that's me. I criticize both. I criticize the good stuff and I criticize the bad stuff. So it doesn't change my opinion of Linkin Park. I would say, though, if you are an anti-Scientologist, which I am, or at least I consider myself to be, I think we have to go about this very carefully, right? And I know some people are, hey, we need to protest and bomb the Linkin Park. First of all, even any call for a boycott or banning is just stupid. They're way too powerful. They're way too popular. I think the better approach is to educate the guys on this. And I am a little depressed. There are a lot of good documentaries on Scientology, but we have to be clear. And I think this is the dilemma. Like, would I say, hey, just have them see Going Clear? They'll wake up from the propagandas. Well, listen, Going Clear is a great documentary. It is. However, we got to start being brutally honest. They made a few huge mistakes, which will happen in the documentary. But I'm also have to be brutally honest. I think in certain parts of it, they were lying. They were exaggerating how bad Scientology was in a few places. In other places, this is what I didn't like about it either. It's too easy on Scientology. So paradoxically, it's too hard on certain areas, but too easy in other areas. The book is the same thing. It's very strong in certain areas, but very weak in other areas. So I think if we're going to seriously try to persuade them to at least, because what's going to happen? Confront Emily? That's not going to happen. But be aware of Emily's associations. And maybe Emily herself doesn't know. If we're going to educate Emily and Linkin Park in any constructive sense, we got to be brutally honest. And that means being brutally honest about what Scientology is and also what it's not. So be brutally honest about its crimes, but also be brutally honest that some things, well, you got to be honest, were just made up. People just made stuff up about attacking Scientology, and that's just not true. I think that's the better way forward because they will double check these things. Believe me, they got a lot of handlers. They got a lot of people around them. They will double check your stories. I do not like Scientology in its incarnation with David Miscavige. So if Emily wants to be a Scientologist on her own time, that is her. She has the right to religion. That is fine. Wants to be gay. That's her thing. Fine. I don't care about that. But in terms of persuading the group that possibly they may be in danger of being used for propaganda purposes by Scientology, that is a real thing. But I think the better approach is education. But I know some yahoos in the SPTV world, oh no, Linkin Park, the hotels and the children, kids can't consent, Linkin Park can't consent. I know they're going to be stupid about this, and I'm just going to frankly be amused when Natalie Webster, because I'm going to be really interested what this homegirl, this hardcore ghetto girl who knows the streets and the hardcore metal scene, like what she's going to recommend with Linkin Park. Because I'm going to be like, girl, you need to just shut up, go in the back. You're not a part of this conversation. Frankly, you were never part of this conversation. Let me and other people who know, we know Jay, we know Linkin Park, we know the rap scene. Let us talk. You be quiet. You sit with Aaron and do your own weirdo propaganda for yourselves, in my humble opinion. But yeah, this is going to open up a lot of conversations, mostly painful ones, I expect.